So now, it comes down to this, 2026, halos last minute na naman sila. Paano nila mapupull off itong pagtatanggal kay VP Inday? Ganyan sila ka walang ano bang tawag doon? Walang credibility itong mga ito. Tapos magko-conduct sila ng ops against somebody na super kapit, super solid ng support. Not bloody likely. Which means the administration is desperate. So let's have a look at his father. What did his father do? Si Marcos Sr. was able to hold on to power for 20 years. It wasn't exactly legal, but he made it appear so. So, ano yung mga elements? Ano yung playbook? Ano yung template na in-establish ng tatay ni BBM? Well, unang-una, constitutional and legal manipulation. Ang pagka-elect kay Marcos Sr., legal. No question, he's very popular and he did all the right things during elections. May sine-sine pa nga yan, di ba? He had a a beautiful wife who learned very early on how to campaign, how to make people feel at home, close, all that. She was very, very good. So, yun yung secret weapon niya. President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. won by something like 1 million votes over his nearest opponent. And the reason for that was Imelda Marcos. So, he came into office democratically, legally elected in 1965. And then he won again his re-election in 1969. But by now, Marcos had gotten a taste of power. He knew he was good at it. He knew his leadership was strong, it was stable, but he wanted more. So in 1972, he declared martial law. Ang dahilan, may civil unrest daw. At ginamit pa niya yung lumalaking communist insurgency to justify this martial law. It wasn't, well, while it could have been justifiable, considering lumalaki yung insurgency, martial law really was his instrument to extend power. So, Proclamation 1081, di ba? September 21, 1972. It was a martial law that would last until 1981. So, while under martial law, he changed the Constitution. Now, is this starting to sound familiar? He replaced the 1935 Constitution with a parliamentary system. In the parliamentary system kasi, kung prime minister ka, you can retain power. You just need to be elected by your district every time, every elections. But the parliamentary system under Marcos was a hybrid. May presidente pa rin, and the prime minister was Cesar Vigorata. But the fact was, Marcos was still pulling the strings. So, in the meantime, he maintained sweeping powers because nagkaroon din siya ng legislative powers. He was not only the executive, he was also the legislative. So, well, partly, while he maintained the Batasang Pambansa, he also allocated to himself the power to make laws. But in addition to that, he also allowed himself to have a modicum of judicial power. Judicial. Through the arrest, search, and seizure order. He created the ASO. Ano yung ASO? It was an order he could issue, or he delegated most of it to his defense minister, Juan Ponce Enrile. This ASO, this order, allowed the military to arrest persons based on a finding made by the executive himself. An arrest under an ordinary circumstances is issued only by the judiciary and only under circumstances, particularly a finding of probable cause. Without probable cause, nakakapag-aresto si President Marcos Sr. through his defense secretary ng kahit na sino, civilian and otherwise. The military also, during the early period of martial law, were trying civilians. Now, under normal circumstances, walang ganon. Now, Marcos also, speaking of martial law, Marcos also used the military, and he used it well. Kinokontrol niya yung promotions, nililimitan niya dun sa mga super loyal lang sa kanya, tinaasan niya ang budget for the military, but then he also allowed the military to enforce curfew and to censor media. Nag-create pa siya ng mga paramilitary groups and allowed private armies. Nang sa gayon, mas kontrolado ang mga tao. So, bago tayo magpatuloy, huwag pong kakalimutan, like, share, follow, and subscribe. So, magandang gabi kay Sunshine. Maraming salamat. Nandito po kayo. Maraming salamat kay Lee Alan Solares. Tama ba yun? Number 1, ano siya? Number one gifter siya. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, Happy New Year, everybody. O, balik na tayo dun sa topic. So well, we don't even need to mention human rights, pero officially, 3,240 killed, 35,000 tortured, 70,000 incarcerated. So, ano pa ang ginamit ni Marcos Sr. to retain power? He kept economic control. And you know how he did it? So his cronies. So inawardan niya yung mga cronies niya ng virtual monopolies sa asukal, sa coconut. There were some that he gave franchises to the media. Yung media, inagaw niya yung iba pinamigay doon sa mga cronies niya. So it came to the point that the people who were the richest in the country were totally dependent on the president for their wealth or other opportunities. Dito din, sa period na ito, nasanay yung mga mayayaman, what we refer to now as the oligarchs, rightly or wrongly, dito sila nasanay na to do business by demanding a monopoly or negotiating with government for monopolies. This was where nagkaroon ng unholy alliance between big business and the legislature. Big business would fund the elections of politicians, and the politicians would owe them favors. So many of our laws were crafted to protect certain industries, to guarantee some of the monopolies that to this day quite possibly exist. There could be duopolies too, or cartels, such as yung cartels sa importation ng pagkain, or dun sa tinatawag na rice cartel of middlemen na bumibili sa mga magsasaka. So, economic control. Yun nga lang, habang tumatagal, they couldn't sustain the Philippine economy. Masyado na siyang broken. So, to keep it afloat, Marcos would take out loans. And he also entered into, he came to an agreement with the US. The US backed him on the premise that he would continue to allow the US bases here. Yung US bases kasi yan, bunga yan ng parity rights. Bunga yan nung so-called pagkilala sa ating independence. Papakawalan tayo ng US, pero kailangan may parity rights up to the 1970s, from World War II until the 1970s, and then mayroon silang US bases sa Pilipinas. So nung nag-e-expire na, nagdi-demand na si Marcos ng bayad. Pero he continued to allow the US bases. Ito ang isang paraan to consolidate his power. In addition, minamanipulate niya yung mga eleksyon. Minsan magpapapanalo siya ng ilan, barya-baryang amounts ng opposition para makapasok sa gobyerno, and to make it look to the world na, democratic pa rin ang Pilipinas. But really, they were cheating during elections so that the outcome was always a foregone conclusion. Siguro, nasanay din ang ilang mga politiko na nakokontrol nilang eleksyon, which is why to this day, there are strong suspicions about the COMELEC. So, now, in comparison, how does Marcos Jr. fare? Well, di ba si Marcos Sr., the first thing he did was to declare martial law. We don't see BBM declaring martial law, but we do see him co-opting the military in the same way. So, the military now, unlike the more activist military of previous administrations, hindi na sila they're less likely under Marcos Jr. to fulfill their mandate or interpret their mandate to protect the people in a way that might have a power change or power shift. You know what I mean? Okay? So, yung co-optation of the military, it looks like that's what's happening even now with the very active participation of the defense minister in creating even policy on international relations, which is exclusive to the president. Is there oppression? Well, what we see now is a modern-day version of the censorship of the Marcos administration. Probably not at the same level. Pero nakikita natin na marami na sa mga atin sa social media ay kinakasuhan. But they're not being sued by ordinary citizens just trying to protect their reputations through libel suits. No. A lot of our vloggers who are the equivalent of the strong media opposition during Marcos Sr.'s years ay sila yung mga kinakasuhan at kinakasuhan ng mga politiko So when it is a politician, particularly a sitting politician, that sues a vlogger, you're talking about an unequal power equation. Next. So, but look at the very first thing that they attempted. Charter change. Okay. Ibig sabihin, early on, kailan ba nag-umpisa ang charter change? 2023, kung di ako nagkakamali. So, 2023, umiikot na. And we had noticed, in fact, Luminous was the first to notice and to start posting or raising the alarm on it. And then we were so excited that former President Duterte took up the cause. They tried to change the Constitution. At hindi masyadong halata on the part of Marcos Jr. Kasi ang gumagalaw nung una, it was Speaker Martin Romualdez. Pero even Speaker Martin Romualdez, patago-tago, deny. Pinapalabas nila, hindi organic yan. Ay, naku, obviously not. It was not organic. And eventually, umamin din ang ilang mga kongresista na sila yung nag-uumpisa, lalong-lalo na sa kanilang mga distrito. What was the purpose for charter change? On its face, it was to give Congress the power to initiate it. Ibig sabihin, kasi sa saligang batas, kailangan both the House and the Senate ay magtutugma para magkaroon ng Constituent Assembly or Congress or Constitutional Convention. So kailangan nagkasundo sila. Pero yung amendment na gusto ni na Martin Romualdez, kahit House mag-isa, wala yung Senate, or kahit yung Senate mag-isa, wala yung House, pwedeng mag-propose ng Constitutional Convention or Constituent Assembly. Na bakit nila gusto yung power na yon? Alam ni Speaker Martin na hindi nila kakayanin ang Senado because ang Senado traditionally opposed sa presidente yan. Pahihirapan nila, it wouldn't be that easy. And they were planning to propose such a radical change, the shift to parliamentary, so that either a Marcos or Romualdez would continue holding power. Kung kunwari, si Martin Romualdez naging Prime Minister, hindi na niya bibitiwan yan. Ang laki ng possibility that they were going to change also the term limits. So sila na lang ang hahawak ng power. This was early on. This was 2023. Nag-propose na kaagad ng charter change. Okay? So pareho sa Marcos template, the charter change. Ang difference, weak at magkaiba na ng saligang batas o ino-operate ng saligang batas yung mag-ama. Unfortunately for Marcos Jr., hindi niya naipasa yon. So, extending himself in power, he will need more. Economic control and crony capitalism, ginagawa din ito. Bakit? Sino lang ang kumikita? Notably, yung mga tumulong sa kanya sa eleksyon. One of the first things that BBM did after he won, maraming pinaalis doon sa campaign headquarters. Pero meron pa rin nakakapasok. At yung mga nakakapasok, yung mga diretso doon sa kanyang lungga sa 7th floor. Sino lang nakakapasok? Puro mayayaman. The industrialists, the oligarchs, yan. Meron pa silang maliit na may picture sila na nagiinuman sila doon after the elections and after BBM clearly had won. At hindi siya shy. Marami siyang binigyan ng mga opportunities dito sa mga tao who also gave him a lot of so-called campaign contributions. So, in that sense, pareho sila. It's a way of consolidating power kapag kakampi mo ang mga pinakamayayaman sa bansa. Kaya kibera siya sa mga ordinaryong mamamayan. Kibera siya dun sa healthcare, kibera siya sa edukasyon. Deadma siya sa presyo ng pagkain kahit ang mahal-mahal. Ang importante sa kanya, happy ang mga mayayaman niyang kaibigan. Like his father, mayroon din siyang mga foreign loans. Ang tatay niya, sinimulan niya yan eh. Dahil nauubos, syempre, ninanakaw ang kapan ng bayan, nagre-replenish siya by securing loans. Yung mga loans na sinecure ni Marcos Sr., hindi biro yun ha. Ang external debt, 2.5 billion in 1970, naging 26 billion. US dollars ito ha, in 1986. So, paano natin babayaran yon? It took a while. And in fact, we completely paid off our debts, our historical debts, only in the Arroyo administration. Okay? Ganun katagal, almost 30 years. Yung mga ninanakaw din, yung mga loans na yon, misappropriated din. Meaning, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang ligaya, tuloy-tuloy pa rin na busog ang mga bulsa. Yun nga lang, hindi nag-improve ang ekonomiya at eventually this was one of the motivators for the 1986 revolution. Electoral manipulation. Again, we see that there are attempts, but the president admitting that he was very disappointed with the outcome of the midterm elections means that you had access to all that power, but you still didn't know how to use it. International support. Like his father, dumikit siya sa mga Kano. Later on, his father, nilaglag ng mga Kano because in the end, a more popular government or more popular candidates will trump an unpopular and virtually powerless leader. So sa madaling sabi, I think that to some extent, si Marcos Jr., ginagaya niya yung yapak ng tatay niya. The problem is, mahina talaga siya. In the end, tama si PRD, weak. He's trying, nevertheless, dapat tinitignan natin. He is trying to hold on to power. So it's 2026. Something like 600 plus days to the next administration. So, what is he going to do? He is desperate. In the things that his father did, he failed at least half of them. Mahina talaga. So, leadership-wise, talagang walang accomplishment itong si Marcos Jr. And as much as he would like to extend his term, his options are very limited. But he needs to hold on to power. Bakit? When he steps down as president, even with Boying Remulla acting as his rear guard, when he leaves, it's very likely that cases against him are going to prosper. And not just against him, pati mga kamag-anak niya, mga kaibigan, and so on. Maraming maglalaglag sa kanya, lalong-lalo na pag hindi na siya presidente. So, he needs to make sure na hindi Duterte ang makaupo. Again, this means 2026 will be the year of desperation for the Marcos admin. They're going to throw everything at VP Inday. And yes, mataas ang moral natin, kaya natin salubungin ito. But we must also be observant. Tignan natin kung papunta na sila sa mga attempts to try to consolidate and hold on to power. So, moral of the lesson? Moral of the lesson here is, huwag tayong kampante because last chance ang 2026 for the Marcos administration. Last chance. Kasi by 2027, bumabalimbing na ang ibang mga politiko. And from what I hear, a lot of them nag-iisip na. And I'm sure it's coming down to a nail-biting decision. Di ba? Kaya ko na bang bumitiw sa perang makukuha ko at lumipat na kay Inday ngayon? Kasi kung late magsilipatan yung ibang mga politiko, good luck na makalapit sila kay VP Inday. She will of course remember yung mga tao who have been loyal because that's really what you reward. You reward loyalty. So, again, it comes down to this. Be vigilant kasi 2026, last shot na ni BBM.